my dear grandchildren. We have a nice story to read together today. It's called Alfie Goes Camping by Shirley Hughes. One summer afternoon, Mom hung a sheet over the washing line. Can you see it? And weighted it down with stones on either side. Alfie crawled inside. There he is. Boy, that looks like it'd be a fun place to play, doesn't it? It made a good tent. "I'm camping," Alfie called out. "This is my tent, and nobody can come in here unless I say so." But Annie Rose was already coming in through the other end, uninvited. She wants to play too, doesn't she? That's all right. It looks like there's plenty of room for both of them in there. That makes a nice big tent. Alfie went indoors and brought out some important things to put in his tent. He brought a coloring book and some crayons, a saucepan, his old blanket, and his knitted elephant. All important items. He spread a rug inside and some cushions to sit on. Nicely done, Alfie. Real campers cook their food over a campfire and eat it sitting on the ground, Alfie told Annie Rose. So they put some bits of grass into the saucepan and cooked them over a pretend fire. That definitely looks like a good game to pretend, doesn't it? What do you think about that picture? Where are they in that picture? Can you tell? They're inside the tent, aren't they? Looks cozy, doesn't it? Alfie's talking and Annie Rose is listening. What do you think about the look on Annie Rose's face? She seems a little concerned about something, doesn't she? After that, they went inside the tent and lay down on the cushions. Alfie pretended it was nighttime, and there was a forest all around full of wolves, snakes, and snarling tigers. Maybe that's what Annie Rose was afraid of. Annie Rose was not quite sure whether she liked this part of the game, and she soon trotted indoors to find Mum. Wolves, snakes, and snarling tigers. That's a lot of things in one forest, isn't it? I think Alfie has a very good imagination. Alfie was still in his tent when Dad came home from work. He brought out a mug of tea and drank it sitting by Alfie's campfire. Oh, that was fun. Dad told Alfie that he had owned a real tent when he was a boy and had slept out in it all night. "I'll look in the loft and see if it's still there," he promised. "And if it is, we might try it out next time we go to visit Grandma in the country." Oh, that's exciting to think about, isn't it? A real tent and a chance to try real camping? Wow, I can see Alfie's excited about that. That is very exciting to think about. Oh, here's a big, big picture. We'll look at part of it and then I'll switch it to the other part, okay? So you can see all the parts of the picture. Dad did find the tent. Alfie was very excited when the time came to put it up in the field next to Grandma's house. Everyone came out to watch. Looks like Grandma has her own kitty, and the kitty came out to watch too, didn't he or she? It was big enough for 2 people to lie down in. Well, 2 people can fit in it, but how many people are here in the picture? How many do you see here? 1, 2, 3, right? Mom and Annie Rose and Grandma, that's 3 people. And over here we have Alfie and Dad, that's person number 4, and person number 5. I don't think everyone's going to fit in the tent, are they? It said there was room for 2 people to lie down in it. Let's see what they say. Annie Rose was too little to go camping. Oh, okay. So it was going to be just Alfie and Dad. Okay, so maybe Annie Rose gets to do it when she's a little bigger. They had brought proper foam mattresses and sleeping bags with them from home. I hope it doesn't rain, said Dad. Yeah, rain is actually not much fun when you're in a tent. It sounds like it could be fun, but it isn't. I've been in a rainy tent, and it really isn't a whole lot of fun. Kind of sounds nice on the tent, but then things start getting soggy and it doesn't feel very nice. But Dad says he hopes it doesn't rain. Well, let's find out. There we go. Tent is all set up. Alfie could hardly wait until bedtime. He kept going in and out of the tent to check that everything was ready. He had put his blanket and elephant beside his sleeping bag. Dad had put an electric torch beside his. That's a flashlight. They're all set for their camping adventure. See them there, getting ready? At last, bedtime came. Alfie had a wash and put on his pajamas and dressing gown just as usual. He wanted to cook his own supper over a campfire, but Dad said that might be a bit difficult. Maybe another time, Alfie. You see them having supper there in the kitchen with everyone instead. Trying to get everybody in the picture. There we go. I think I got everybody there. Instead, they had supper in the kitchen. Jacket potatoes and baked beans. Grandma gave them some apples to take with them into the tent. So there's Dad and Alfie and Mom and Grandma and Annie Rose. They had their supper, they had their dinner, and there they go on their adventure. Then they set out. It was strange not to be going upstairs to bed, but down the garden, through the gate, and into the field. Very fun. Whoops, sorry. Drop the book. Okay, oh, that's a pretty picture, isn't it? The sun is setting in that picture, can you see? How beautiful, See all the birds in the sky? That looks lovely. It was still light. Dad and Alfie sat down in front of the tent with a blanket around them and ate their apples. They watched the sun go down behind the trees. They watched the sky change color. They saw the birds swooping and calling to one another. They sat there until it was quite dark, and the stars came out one by one. It was very mysterious to be outside at night, under the big sky with rustling noises all around and the wind blowing the branches about. But Alfie felt very safe being there with Dad. That's a nice feeling, isn't it? You're sitting there with someone you love. You know that you're safe with that grown-up taking care of you, right? And you get to enjoy seeing the sun go down and hear all the animals, some of them settling down for the night, some of them just waking up. Some animals wake up at night, don't they? That seems very nice. Haha, look at Alfie. Just before it was time to settle down, Alfie jumped up, scampered off across the field, and did a little dance all by himself under the stars. He's just so happy, isn't he? Then they climbed into their sleeping bags, and Alfie cuddled up to his blanket with his elephant in beside him and went off to sleep. That seems like it could be the end of the story, but it isn't. See them inside the tent? Looks like Dad is asleep, but Alfie has woken up. Let's see what happened. When he woke up, it wasn't morning. It was the middle of the night. It was completely dark, not like being in a bedroom with the light shining in from the landing, but pitch black all around. Alfie put out his hand. He could feel Dad's back next to him, humped up inside the sleeping bag. Alfie lay very still and listened. He could hear noises outside, strange creakings and flappings. Inside the tent, now he's really awake, isn't he? He's listening to something. He looks a little alarmed. Inside the tent, he could hear Dad breathing. But then Alfie realized that he could hear something else breathing too. And that something was outside the tent. Oh, that might have been a very scary thing to think about, wouldn't it? You're there in the dark, it's nighttime, and something is outside of the tent. Okay. Alfie sat up. He didn't scream. He didn't even cry. Very sensible, Alfie. Good job. He just leaned over and wrapped his arms around Dad's neck and squeezed very tightly indeed. Then, of course, Dad woke up too. That was very sensible of Alfie. He didn't make a lot of noise, just sat up and grabbed for the grown-up who could help him. Now the breathing thing was just near their heads. It was a very snorty, snuffly sort of breathing. They could hear it moving, too. It was trampling about in the grass. Then it went round the tent to the zip opening, which Dad had left not quite done up, and started to push against it. So whatever it is out there is pushing at the opening of the tent to try to come inside the tent. Well, there's only room for 2 in this tent, and there's already 2 people in the tent. There's no room for anything else to get in there. Oh my. Well, now Dad and Alfie both look scared, don't they? Alfie was quite sure that something huge and horrible was coming to eat them up. He began to scream and scream. Well, I guess that's kind of understandable, isn't it? That's not a very pleasant way to be woken up. "It's okay, Alfie," said Dad. He felt for his torch and switched it on. Now that is a very sensible idea. Let's turn on the light, even if it's just a flashlight, and see what's happening. Okay, you see them? They saw a big pink nose. See it? Coming through the tent flap. It had, see, there's Dad with his torch, with his flashlight, and he's shining it on the opening of the tent, and there's that nose. It had very large, wet nostrils. "It's a pig," said Dad. And he bravely got out of his sleeping bag and gave the nose a big push. That's a pig. Pig is bigger than Dad. That's a big pig. Look at how big that pig is. There's Dad, and there's the pig. That is a big pig. So he gave the nose a big push. Alfie stopped screaming. He and Dad crawled out of the tent. It did not seem quite so dark outside. The pig moved a short distance away. Yeah, it moved just a short distance away and stood there watching them. Do you think that pig looks like it's afraid of them? Doesn't look afraid to me. Looks like it's just curious. Pigs are very smart animals. And this piggy is curious about who is sleeping in this tent. So there they are, shining the light on the pig. Pig might not like having the light in its face, but it doesn't look like it's ready to leave. "I didn't know Jim Gadding had put his pig in this field," grumbled Dad sleepily. He tried to make the pig go away, but it wouldn't. After a while, they tried to go back to sleep in the tent, but the pig kept trying to join them. Is there room in that tent for Dad and Alfie and a pig that's bigger than Dad? I don't think so. But that piggy wants to come in and try. That's funny, isn't it? Oh my goodness. There they are, carrying all of their things with the piggy following them. Hard to get to that picture so you can see it properly. That's about the best I can do there. In the end, there was nothing for it but to take the tent down. They collected up all their things and carried them back into Grandma's garden. It took several journeys to and fro. The pig followed closely behind them. When Dad finally closed the garden gate on the pig, it stuck its snout through the bars and watched them. Dad told Alfie that they couldn't very well wake up everybody in the house at that time of night, so they had better put up the tent again in the garden. Alfie thought that was a very good idea. At last they got the tent back up and crawled into it, and the pig got tired of watching and wandered off down the field. That's funny. Alfie and Dad dozed until it was nearly light. When Alfie woke again, Dad was still fast asleep. Alfie crept quietly out of his sleeping bag and stood in the wet grass in his bare feet. The curtains of Grandma's house were still tightly drawn, but the sun was up and the birds were making a great noise. Have you ever been outside like that very, very early in the morning when most people are still sleeping, but the birds are talking? Birds make a lot of noise first thing in the morning. It's like they're so happy that morning came again. Well, of course, some birds are up during the night, like owls. They're up during the night, but most birds sleep in the night and wake up very early in the morning, and they do a lot of singing and talking to each other. Alfie felt very special to be the only person awake and out of doors that sunny morning, and he made up his mind to ask Dad if they could go camping again that very night. What do you think? You think Alfie's dad said yes to camping again that night? It would be a lot of fun if he did, wouldn't it? But maybe not with the piggy joining him this time. All right, I hope you enjoyed that story. I love you.